Broadcasting from the Podcast New York studios, it's the adult-only retro game show where the decades battle for supremacy because it's your history. We just fight for it. Welcome back to Dueling Decades. I am Marc James, and this week we hop into April with a best of duel. I will be representing April of 1997 alongside the other duelers and the decades they will be fighting for. First off, gagging you with a spoon full of the 90s, say hello to Mancrush.
Yeah, what's up? I have April of 1993, and for the first time ever, this is the second time that I have April of 1993. The first time that we're ever repeating a year and a month, but everything's new.
Also joining us on the panel, and for the very first time ever, a former guest judge returns to play our game. So kicking the 80s right in the nards, please welcome back to the show the amazing Andre Gower.
Good to be back. This is different. I'm ready to rock, and I have April of 1986, and I'll just let you know now the game is over. Because I have some good stuff.
And as always, here on the show, we need somebody to adjudicate all of this awesomeness. Listeners will know this week's judge as a show regular who once hijacked the DeLorean just to go back in time and bitch slap Jar Jar Binks. He's the media king of the North. All rise for Judge Joe Findlay.
It's sticking, the media king of the North. I couldn't be happier about that. I told my wife that you called me that, and she's like, oh, you're going to make that a thing, aren't you? And I'm like, you're damn right I am. So let's get it started tonight.
Tattoo. That's a tattoo.
Across my entire chest.
I was thinking more tramp stamp, but
no, that space is already taken up. I will not tell you with what.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest will be held under Dueling Decades rules. The judges' coin flip shall decide who picks first out of the 5 Dueling Decades categories: movies, television, music, news, and hot products. A judge's ruling will determine who wins each round, allowing the victor to choose the next available category. The first 3 rounds are worth 1 point each, with rounds 4 and 5 worth 2 points apiece. And in the event of a tie, after all 5 rounds, we will go to a final wild card round. Remember, duelers, to review the show, listen, subscribe, and play along at home. It's time for more Dueling Decades. So let's go right down to our judge, Joe Findlay, for the coin toss.
All right. Well, as astute listeners may know, I've been judged one time before, and I downloaded an app so I might flip a coin. And I have that app with me today, and I have a $1 piece on there, and you have John Quincy Adams as your heads. The Statue of Liberty is tails. So, Andre, let's have you call it in the air. It's in the air.
Of course, tails, because I am a rule-following contrarian.
I love it. Unfortunately, the former president of the United States does not love it. John Quincy Adams, it is heads. Proceed.
That means, Mancrush, you win the coin toss this week. You take control of the board, and you get to select our first category.
All right, let's kick things off hot with hot products. Let's go April 16th, 1993. I'm going to make this one quick because I want to get right to my big unveil here, which is 30 years in the making, or 28 years to be exact. I'm sure most of us are aware, even if you don't collect comic books, that Superman was killed by Doomsday in late 1992. This was insanely massive at the time. Fans, common folks alike were captivated by the death of Superman. But let's face facts. We all knew you weren't going to keep Superman dead forever. And even though this issue, it's marked June of 1993, it actually hit shelves in April of 1993. And looking through the archives, it looks like most places had Adventures of Superman number 500 on sale mid-April 1993. The ad I have is April 16th, so right around there. But much like The Death of Superman, which was a massive commercial success, I think it sold like 7 million copies. The Return of Superman, equally popular. Whether people are comic book fans or not, everyone was scooping up copies of this. The place that I bought my comics from back in the day, it was this joint called TJ's Comics and Cards. and they couldn't even keep this in stock, and they had a limit of 2 per person. And I know that for a reason, and I'll tell you that in a minute. But much like the Death of Superman, which came in the remember it was the black bag and it had like the bloody Superman emblem.
Yeah.
Life After Death came in a similar bag, but this time it was in a white bag with the regular Superman emblem, much like this one right here. So not only do I have the comic book, I have the bag from TJ's Comics that I bought it in. It's a Superman shopping bag. This is what they did back then. And I have my 2 copies. And they're both pristine condition. We're going to go ahead and they haven't been open in 28 years. So let's open one of these suckers up. There was like a special like silver foil on one of the covers.
That one.
Let's see if I got that. All right. Top's open. First time this thing is getting air.
Dust.
Is it the Snyder cut of the comic?
Yeah, it's 900 pages.
It's encyclopedia, right?
Does not look like I have the silver cover, but I still have one more left. But it looks like it's in fantastic shape. When I was researching this the other day, oh, look at that. It's got a Coneheads ad in it to show how dated this is. You were not supposed to keep these in the plastic covers. You were supposed to open them up. From what I read online, I don't know how true this is because this looks like it's in pretty pristine condition. That without getting air, I don't know, the cover would deteriorate or something, but it looks okay.
Yeah,
there it is.
Like it's in great condition.
Yeah.
My Adventures of Superman number 500. Superman's back, and now there's like 4 of them or some shit. But this is where it's at.
And one of them was Shaquille O'Neal.
Wow, Mancrush, I'm so glad you went to the comics rack, because for my hot product, we're going to give the old comics rack a spin in 1977, and we're going to land on X-Men number 104. You know, this is actually a landmark issue where we see the all-new, all-different X-Men lineup. Now, they were previously assembled in giant-size X-Men number 1 by legendary writer Chris Claremont. This time, they face off against a villain who has not been seen since Defenders number 16 all the way back in 1974, when he was accidentally turned into a baby by another mutant he created. So in April of 1977, the new X-Men, consisting of Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Colossus, and Banshee, find themselves at Moira McTaggart's research island when they are attacked and met by their greatest foe. And he says, "Greetings, X-Men. I bid you welcome to the site of your final battleground. You are going to die here, mutants, and neither your powers nor your skills can save you from my wrath. Look upon me, X-Men, for I am your oldest, deadliest foe, master of the Legion of Evil Mutants, and soon to be Lord of all the world. I am Magneto." This marks the return of Magneto and the first time the new X-Men lineup would face off against him. In this issue, we have the first appearance of the SR-71 Blackbird, the famous vehicle of the X-Men. And then it's also the debut of Lilandra, who is literally the woman of Professor X's dreams. And the big one here for me is the debut of the Starjammers and their leader, Corsair, who would later be revealed as Cyclops' father. Now, the Starjammers, if you're not familiar with them, they're kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy mashed up with ice pirates. And their leader, Corsair, is their swashbuckling space pirate leader. He is absolutely fantastic. Overall, this is just a great issue. It starts off a great storyline for Magneto and the X-Men, and it gives us the introduction to some great new characters that later on are going to have a major impact on the Marvel Universe. So that's my pick for Hot Products. It is X-Men number 104, April 1977. All right, Andre Gower, we're going to toss it over to you. What is your pick for the Hot Products round?
Well, I'm going to go dorky in a different route. No comic books for me in 86. I am going to go more tech pathway.
Very nice.
And with the introduction of IBM's first quote unquote laptop, the IBM PC Convertible, which was technically released in April of 1986. It it ran on DOS.
Nice.
First,
Version
in
5.
86. And a couple of the highlights is it was the first laptop computer made by IBM. First sold in April of 86, like I mentioned. It was the first laptop style computer following the luggable IBM Portable, which was more like a briefcase, like that big luggage type thing that you, I don't even remember seeing successful businessmen walking around with that.
No,
this one maybe, but it was still so big they just put it on their desk and left it there. Right? It some of it's and what it did is this computer introduced the 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Ooh, man.
So that was kind of cool to the IBM, to theirs. Its key feature was that it had power management and the ability to run on batteries, which they hadn't had before. I don't
12
believe.
minutes.
That's right. I think like some, that crappy flip up LCD screen and, a giant full keyboard and like a mini briefcase type plastic housing. It wasn't, I was trying to get some, it weighed 13 pounds.
I see you work out with it.
That's right. You just, well, that's why it had the handle. So you could just try and do some curls and, something like some deltoid flies and things like that.
Work on your chest at the airport.
That's right. He's like, sir, what are you doing? You're like, trust me, it's my cardio. And that's, it really wasn't received well because it was a poor value for its money because other competitors mostly made in Japan had more features. I guess for what everybody wanted there, you were either typing out a letter that you could print on your IBM dot matrix printer, or you were playing Oregon Trail or something. I don't know. But that was a cool time. I mean, look, technology changes so vastly every year, and these were kind of some predecessors of some rad stuff.
For sure, man. How much did that cost? Did you have a price on that one?
I think it ranged because I think you could add. It came kind of pretty base. I couldn't find a price anywhere.
If I had
just talked about it, wasn't worth the price.
It was probably like $5,000 or something. Like
no, you know what? No, I'm sorry.
Insane.
I did find it. I did. That was on my other notes. Hold on. I think it's right here on my scratch pad. Where'd it go? Yeah, I think it was $2,000.
Holy shit!
Wow.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I wrote down 2,000 because I think that was so weird. Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
it's like $5,000 today.
Yeah, I know that wasn't worth it.
Insane.
So someone could fact check me on the price, but I did write that down when I found it somewhere weird, either in an ad on an old newspaper or an obscure kind of tech magazine article. But yeah, so I'm going on hot products for April of 86, the IBM PC Convertible, IBM's first laptop.
Very nice, man. That's great job. And that's why I started with hot products. I was like, let's see what he's got. We'll go hot products, the hardest round, get it out of the way.
My shit only gets better from here, man.
Yeah, get hot products out of the way. All right.
Let's kick it up to Judge Joe Findlay for the ruling on the hot products round.
All right. Well, I'm not going to suck up right off the bat just because I'm a fan of him, but I do commend Andre for coming in. This is a tough thing to do. I remember my first time doing this format of the show, and it's hard as hell. And so to jump in, like, God bless you. But
and he barely asked me any questions. I mean, I sent him multiple emails like, dude, you okay? Like, you need any help? Like, no, got it, man. I'm good to go. So, hey, good job, bro.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I screwed up once. I actually, instead of hot products, I picked sports or something like that, and I had to like on the fly come up with one. And Mancrush was like, no, that's not it. And I'm like, oh shit, and I had to improvise. But so no, my hat's off to you. It's a good product. I'm gonna start though by comparing the comic books. Whenever you got two things similar, it's best to just kick one of you assholes out. Two big comic books. Obviously the the X-Men one was a big deal. It was a new lineup. It was a return of a major character. It was an introduction to the Jet, like you said, which is a major thing. It's really interesting that you bring up the Starjammers because my co-host, Todd Murray, was just in the midst of rewatching the X-Men animated series on Disney Plus, and the Starjammers appear in one of the storylines on there. And his first thing was, I feel like James Gunn just watched this and then made Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes. Like there's a lot that's just straight from
There's a lot that's similar.
But this is going to be the only time you're going to hear me pick DC over Marvel. It's the significance of the return of Superman is just too big. Throw in the fact that when you're talking about a hot product, the person pitching it owns the product. Doesn't just own one, owns two.
Two, baby.
There's only one collector's item I own two of, and it's actually the Star Wars Force Awakens vinyl soundtrack, because they carved in a hologram so that when you play the record, when you spin it, you see a hologram of a ship going above it, and it's really cool. So my wife bought me one that I could open and use and one that I could keep sealed. So I know the importance of a collector's item like that, and you opened it for us. So I'm going to eliminate the X-Men right now. And then to go between Superman and the computer. I mean, the computer's cool. The introduction of the floppy disk is great, but this man prefers a hard drive. So I'm still going to go with Superman.
He might not be able to see through that laptop. That thick.
I bet if you drop that laptop on Superman, it would kill him.
It might.
It could at least hurt him. I mean, the one thing that was pretty cool that I saw in these articles when I was going through newspapers.com, all about this, because there was a lot of stuff about the death and, his return. This actually put DC ahead of Marvel for a little bit. I mean, obviously it didn't last that long because Superman wasn't even a top 10 comic at the time, but the market share shifted from 28% towards DC to 27% towards Marvel for that 1 6-month period, and it was basically all because of Soups. So it was pretty cool. And the other thing is, everyone bought these and we had multiple copies because everyone thought, oh man, in 30 years this thing's going to be worth hundreds of dollars and I'm going to put my kids through college. Yeah, it's
for hundreds of dollars.
Well, I mean, depending on how many you bought, I suppose. But yeah, this one right here, I looked it up on eBay. It's like $10, $5-10. And if you have the silver one, it's obviously a lot more, the whatever the hell it is, the special edition one that was only in some of these envelopes. But I do not have that. Maybe it's in my other one. Maybe I'll open that by the end of the show.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up the very first point, but more importantly, you take control of the board. What category are we going with next?
All right, this is a weird spot to pick this, but we're going to go movies in round 2. We're going to go to April 7th, 1993. This movie right here, it was not up my alley in 1993, and you'll see why in a minute. However, this was like the talk of the town in the spring of 1993, and that's because there was a particular serious premise that surrounds this movie. And honestly, I am glad that I never watched this movie when it came out, because I totally wouldn't have cared about the premise as a 9th grader at all. And honestly, I would have, I probably only would have been in this movie for the nudity. I'll be honest. That's the only reason I probably would have liked it. But our favorite movie experts of yesteryear were split on this one. Roger Ebert, he actually gave this flick a thumbs up. So take that for what it is. If they both had given this a thumbs up, we'd probably think it was shit. So the fact that they were split on this one, we might have something here. And I watched this movie last night for the first time in my life. And as a married 43-year-old, actually, I'm still 42 for a couple of weeks, but we'll give it. I'm 43, almost. But it kind of hits home, and I went in thinking that this is probably, it was going to bore me, but I was actually pretty enthralled. I watched the entire thing and I was like, holy shit, this is not bad. At the box office, this movie, it absolutely cleaned up for a drama. This movie brought in $267 million worldwide, which is nearly $500 million in 2021. And it took home the coveted Best Kiss at the MTV Music Awards. So this shit's good. But on the flip side, it also won 3 Razzies, which I feel like they weren't warranted, but they got worst picture, worst screenplay, and worst supporting actor. I mean, sometimes I think they just do it just to get some press, because it doesn't make sense. This is one of the first times we get to see Woody Harrelson play a serious starring role in a movie. I know he's in White Man Can't Jump, but it's a little bit more serious than that. You got Robert Redford, who's exactly what you'd expect of an amazing actor. And then you have Demi Moore, who's absolutely stunning in this movie. Like gorgeous. In the 80s, I thought Demi was all right, but damn, she is hot in this movie. There were a lot of names that were associated with her role. They had Nicole Kidman, Andy McDowell, and even Julia Roberts was in the running for this one. Woody was like the 40th choice for the role. They initially offered this one to John Cusack, Charlie Sheen, and Tom Cruise. The 3 of them turned that down. And then it was also rumored Val Kilmer, Johnny Depp, and Tim Robbins. But
Wow.
I think they nailed this one in casting. So if you're in the movie, or if you're in the mood for a movie it's based on a book about billionaires who get whatever they want, you got topless Demi Moore, Woody as a miserable cuckold, Billy Bob Thornton playing a jobber, bizarre cameos by Billy Connolly and Rip Torn, porn star Randy West playing Robert Redford, unnecessary lipstick smearing, a remake that was snuffed because of the Me Too movement, and the age-old question, would you let your wife have sex with an old billionaire for $1 million? If you do, then go do yourself a solid and go check out Indecent Proposal.
Wow. Yeah,
Very
that's I was more of a honeymoon in Vegas type of guy than Indecent Proposal, but yeah.
When was the last time you watched? I never watched it. And I think I'm looking at your reactions of the movie. That was mine going into this, because I did this once before. I had 1993, April 93, and I had a totally different movie that I loved. So going into this one, this wasn't exactly the movie that I would typically pick.
Right.
But watching it, I was like, I kind of felt for Woody Harrelson in this movie. It's pretty fucked. It's not bad. It's a good movie.
Well, Mancrush, you picked a movie you wouldn't typically normally pick. I kind of did the same thing. So we're going to go over to the Tampa Tribune, April 28th, 1977. And we get this nice big ad just above the fold that says, Saturday in Tampa at 8 o'clock, you can see the next big smash comedy before they see it in New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris, Rome, or anywhere else in the world. Special Hollywood preview in big, bold letters. All right, so let's go over to the next day's newspaper, where an article read, Sneak preview misleading. A spokesperson for United Artists confirmed yesterday that an advertisement placed in the Tribune promoting an exclusive special Hollywood preview was a little misleading. The ad, which ran in yesterday's Part 4, told readers that they would be seeing the film prior to its release in New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris, Rome, or anywhere else in the world. The film is Woody Allen's latest release, Annie Hall, also starring Diane Keaton and Tony Roberts. The United Artists spokesperson yesterday said the film had already grossed nearly $500,000 in its first 7 days since its actual world premiere on April 20th. Annie Hall was originally scheduled to be released May 6th, the spokesperson said, but in anticipation of that opening, UA launched an ad campaign that would permit a number of sneak previews across the country, including in the Tampa area. However, after the advertising copy was prepared and placed in newspapers across the country, executives moved up the national premiere. The spokesperson said the advertising campaign could not be revamped in time, and thus a number of misleading advertisements about the sneak preview were placed. So I'm only picturing the guy who went and saw Annie Hall, and he's like, God, that movie sucked. All right, next week, man, there is a special preview. This is going to be great. He goes, he sits in the theater, lights go down, camera rolls. It's fucking Annie Hall again.
Son of a bitch.
Well, Annie Hall would go on to earn a little bit more than the $500,000 it started off with, grossing $36 million worldwide. But Annie Hall's success was never really based on dollars. The film would win 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and become one of the best-loved comedies of all time. In his 2002 book, Roger Ebert added it to his great movies list and commented with surprise that it has an instant familiarity despite its age. So I give you Annie Hall, April 20th, 1977.
I like how we both brought like romance movies, which we never ever do, ever. Weird.
All right, well, let's go over to Andre Gower for the movies round.
I had 2 to pick from, going up against Indecent Proposal. Wow. And going up against, what was your crappy movie, Mark? Oh yeah. Annie Hall.
Ever the salesman.
Both are very hard to get through for different reasons.
Yeah.
In this personal opinions, mine. I remember Indecent Proposal. That was a tough time.
It's a tough watch, but not because it's a bad movie. Because
no. It's a well done movie. Yeah. That's why it makes you feel really torn.
It's a gut punch. It's a gut punch.
It is, and you don't feel torn. You feel gut punch because they make the wrong decision.
Yes.
And but I guess $1 million wins every time. But now I think $1 million means something different. Like if you had this movie today and it was some young, super attractive girl walking around Vegas with her doofus surfer boyfriend, and Elon Musk came up to the craps table and said, I'll give you $1 million. That TikTok influencer kind of really attractive girl would be like, I made $1 million last month, dude. And
how about 10 million?
I didn't have to get icky with you. So the tech billionaire would really have to up the game. Annie Hall can't be updated. It's just people walking around being annoying that they're never going to get together. It's just total wish fulfillment of people that just shouldn't know one another. With that said, I'm going campy, funny kind of other route because this isn't a giveaway. This is not my wild card helper, but I didn't have a lot of choices. April's a tough month.
Yeah.
It's unless it's an Easter weekend kind of release or something, but they wait for the big ones for July 4th or Memorial Day, July 4th, going into the summer, with big blockbusters. And 86 was a giant year for movies. Only to be topped by 87. No bias there at all because our movie bombed. But 86 had Top Gun. I had a lot of crazy huge movies. But April, it had like Critters, and it had The Money Pit, which I have, because of numbers and star quality names, I have to go with The Money Pit. So Money Pit apparently had a $10 million budget. It did $5.5 million on its opening weekend, which technically isn't bad. That gets you at least one more weekend in the theaters, apparently. And it made $55 million worldwide in its opening month. So that's pretty good when you have the cast that you had, which is phenomenal, but not necessarily as established as they are kind of today, right. Namely being Tom Hanks, who makes whatever movie he does so much better. Maybe he should have been an Annie Hall. Why didn't Woody Allen think of that? He should
only because he plays Diane Keaton's role.
Yeah, I was going to say he could have.
Well, no, absolutely.
Wait, was he Hildegard? He was Hildegard, right? In Bosom Buddies, who was who?
He was Buffy, or he was because Peter Scolari, who is one of my favorite human beings, was the other one.
Yeah, so I think he was Buffy.
He was Buffy, and Peter was Hildegard. Which was a hilarious show. And launched a career. And ironically, if we're on a Bosom Buddies tangent here, fellas, because I don't have a lot to back up Money Pit, so let's go with this for a second. Peter Scolari, who is starred with Tom Hanks and Bosom Buddies, of course, hit show. When that show got canceled, guess who out of those two, if it's not obvious now with the leading question, got his own network show as a leading man right after Bosom Buddies ended was not Tom Hanks. It was Peter Scolari. Peter Scolari did a show, I believe it was ABC, called Baby Makes Five, about a young accountant and his young attractive wife. They already had 3 kids, and she's pregnant, and lo and behold, at the end of the pilot, she has twins, hence the name Baby Makes Five.
That is a deep ass cut right there. I love it.
Oh, it gets deeper. Hang on a minute, fellas. They had, I mentioned they had 3 existing kids before the twins' surprise arrival, and he's just this harried kind of working journeyman accountant. But the way they spiced the show up is they had 2 great character actors, Priscilla Morel and Blanche, not Blanche. I'm thinking of the other grandmother's name. 2 polar opposites. One was like a swinger clubbing grandma, and the other one was the sit and knit hats on the sofa. They were fantastic at odds with each other, and then they brought in great recurring roles with like Eugene Roach and Joe Regalbuto, because Joe Regalbuto was a New York theater buddy of Peter Scolari's, and he brought his buddy in as a guest spot and did one of my favorite kind of scenes in any show ever, because he's always having, it's almost like Chevy Chase on SNL. He's kind of having always sexy talk on the telephone at his desk. And he hangs up, and Peter's character is always living vicariously through him. He's like, who is that? Some new date? He's like, no, that was my cleaning lady. And so it was just hilarious. And then Joe Regalbuto, shortly after Baby Makes Five, only went one mid-season replacement season, jumped on Murphy Brown and became Joe Regalbuto. So this was a launching pad for that. I did mention the 3 other kids. The younger daughter was Brandy Gold, who was obviously Missy and Tracy Gold's younger sister and my agent's youngest daughter at the time. The middle sister was none other than the redhead awesome force of Jenny Lewis, who is a big rock star now. And the 10-year-old son was, of course, me.
That's awesome.
I was like, how would you read his autobiography? Like,
of this obscure show that no one knows? No, I was there. But what was cool about that is, his buddy Hanks and all these other cool actors, would come by and hang, because Peter's on a huge network show and no one else is. They're all working actors or starving actors. But this was a great experience for me, because Peter was, he's a performer and kind of a circusy guy, and he's a master juggler. And that's how I know how to juggle, because Peter Scolari taught me on that show, and we used to warm up the audience and perform during breaks. And Peter, because of that show, was the reason I got to do the show Circus of the Stars twice, because he brought me over there to that, and we got to do that. So that was pretty cool. Now back to my so I'm hoping to sway the judges with that awesome background tangential story, because the Money Pit sucks. But with the I mentioned the cast, with Tom Hanks, Shelley Long, you got Maureen Stapleton, Joe Mantegna's in it, and a bunch of other characters, but not to be overshadowed. You always have a winner movie if you have Yakov Smirnoff in it. So this is what puts Money Pit over the top. And I think it just goes, if you go back and watch Money Pit, Shelley Long, huge at the time, big TV, TV career, starting with, everything else, but, obviously Cheers. And then Tom Hanks, they were a great duo. Yeah. And, Money Pit, we were all kids when Money Pit came out, so it didn't really make sense. We just thought, why would you buy a shitty house?
Yeah.
But then you grow up and you buy houses and you're like, inspections.
See, I can't watch Money Pit for the same reason Mancrush can't watch Indecent Proposal.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. They completely tie together, because like when you watch that as a kid, you're like, who gives a fuck? But when you watch it as an adult, both those movies, you get punched in the gut, because you're like, oh man, that's tough. Like, what do you do?
That's right. And with Money Pit personally, I had more of a successful venture, but I bought and gutted and renovated a house on my own as well. So I feel the pain, but I had a much better outcome with it than they did.
That's
And I didn't have a tub fall through the, the 2 floors.
Knock on wood.
But I did. I did. The only way I could get the existing old 90s jacuzzi tub out of the master bath is I had to chop it up with a Sawzall into pieces. So
That's fun.
there you go.
All right, Joe Findlay, let's kick it up to you for the ruling on the movies round.
Wow, it's actually a really tough one. They are all coming from really different standpoints. They're all very different movies. Annie Hall. Yeah. Oh, okay, fair enough. But Annie Hall is one of those ones that people always look back on as a classic. I never really got Woody Allen, and it's only aged poorly thanks to, things we know. But I don't know. He's one of those guys where it's like, you see a movie and it's like the really weird looking guy with the really hot girl, and you're like, why are we doing this? We
Like
can, let's
King
not
of
all
Queens?
King of Queens, anything with that.
Well, that was a huge early 2000s trope. I mean, look, according to Jim, King of Queens, it was a thing.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely. And it just happens over and over again. And I'm just like, I don't get it. And I mean, his humor was never my humor, with the exception of Bananas, which I really enjoyed. So great. Okay, Annie Hall. Sorry.
Fuck off, Mark.
No, not fuck off, Mark. That was, I would say, like, from classic perspective, he brings the biggest movie. But I just didn't care. And then you look at Indecent Proposal. I think that more people probably know Indecent Proposal as the reference that other people are using in their own movies than they even are aware of the movie. They're like, oh, this is an indecent proposal situation that's going on or whatever, and not even clicking into the fact that it is this movie that they're talking about. Not everybody, but it's a thing as well. Money Pit, I loved. It is full of, it's full of these like kind of iconic comedy people and whatever, and Tom Hanks is amazing, and this is before he just skyrocketed to the moon. It's a movie I've seen, of all of them, it's the one I've seen the most, but again, it doesn't maybe have the legs. So what I have to do is I have to go with the movie that I am taken back to the most, and that would be through that reference. And I'm going to have to go with Indecent Proposal on it, because it's like, of all the people too, like, and of all the movies that, made that reference or spoofed that bit, one of them was a Woody Harrelson movie, Kingpin, when Chris Elliott does the Indecent Proposal. And it hurts me a lot, because I know that my wife would take that deal for a 15% off coupon at Bed Bath & Beyond. But yeah, that's what I got to go with.
Dude,
I can't complain. I can't. It is a much better movie than the other two. But we're hamstrung by the month that we get chosen, right?
That's the tough thing, man. You got the cards you're dealt.
Now, Joe, does it sway voting for me in the future if I bring a Woody Harrelson story up that sort of ties in with his time on Cheers, which was shot on the Paramount lot while I was shooting a show called Mr. President right down the street on the Paramount lot? I was on stage 19, which used to be the Happy Days stage, which happened to be right next to Webster. But at lunch, if you've ever been to the Paramount lot, behind the big like fake sky kind of mural wall is like a storage area, and there's this huge, pretty well-made half-court basketball court. And me being a basketball player, of course, we used to play at lunchtime, and I would play almost daily 3-on-3 with Woody Harrelson.
Who won?
That's
Does
amazing.
this not? Do I win?
Yes. Yeah, I'm putting all the points on the board.
All I've got is stories. Except for my next stuff. My next stuff is pretty good. It's gonna be hard to compete with my next stuff.
I'm gonna be honest. That one, I mean, given my mood, I could have gone any way on any one of those, because like I said, Annie Hall is definitely the most classic of it. I would say that of the three movies, the one I enjoy to watch the most is Money Pit, but then it's just that, that reference worthy. It's what Mancrush says all the time. It's got legs, baby.
And I mean, it's a tough, and it's got Redford. I mean, which this was sort of shortly before he started phoning it in, even though he was still good.
Yeah. I mean, he had Hackers, then he had this. and then kind of just
Mhm.
didn't. I can't even remember.
You mean
anything after
Sneakers?
that. Sneakers, yeah,
Yeah.
Sneakers.
Oh, such a good movie.
Was a
Oh,
good
I
movie.
love Sneakers.
I always
Such a
liked him in
good
everything.
movie.
Lions for Lambs, again, you could kind of tell he was phoning that one in. It's still like he's kicking the crap out of everybody in this movie.
Yeah, he's amazing. And before we get to the next round, 7 Degrees of Andre Gower. I just missed this one. March 31st of 1993, they recorded the final episode of Cheers, where Shelley Long came back for that.
Right.
And I read this whole article because it was actually, the article was released in mid-April. So I had to keep digging to find out when they actually filmed this. And it was the last day. So it was completely out. But they were
so what you're
saying
saying is that's not your TV choice.
No. It's not my TV choice. But they were saying it was very ho hum. Nobody was very like is touchy feely? No, not touchy feely. Like they weren't very like loving to one another, according to all the articles. They just didn't give a shit. They were like,
oh yeah, no, I bet by that time I think there were so many big I don't want to say egos, but big orbits, a lot of gravity with individual, celestial beings by the time that show ended, including probably Woody, but even all the other, George Wendt and John Ratzenberger and Rhea Perlman and all that, who we would see each other all the time at lunch, like in the commissary and stuff. And I remember the first time I ever met Danny DeVito. I'm 14 years old doing a TV show, and I've never been tall. And I turned around and I was like, who's this guy standing as Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman and their kid? I was like, who's in the stroller? Is that Danny's? I was like, wait a minute. And so it was, but Cheers was a huge show. Yeah. And ironically, again, my tangential stories is all I have here, folks. But when I was doing that show, Mr. President, it starred George C. Scott, who had come to television for the first time ever. And the show was produced by Johnny Carson and Ed Weinberger, who was one of the biggest names in television. And George C. Scott, I guess, his openness to do television was just, I'll do television if I'm the highest paid actor ever in the history of television. And he got something like $550,000 an episode for this new sitcom on Fox. And Ted Danson was 3 stages down the road and went, wait a minute, I just won all the awards for my show. I want a fucking $1 million. And that's when I think that's when Ted Danson started getting $1 million an episode.
Insane.
Brilliant.
And now people
it's
make
insane.
buku books.
Yeah, I mean, $1 million a week was a huge number back then.
Yeah.
All right, Mancrush.
It still is, really.
Yeah, like I would.
Still
Yeah,
is.
For you
unless
guys, maybe.
unless you're on TikTok.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, Mark.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up 2 points heading into the last 1 point round. What category are we going with next?
All right. With all that television talk, let's go music. Let's go April 20th, Mark's favorite day of 1993. And this album, it has a soft spot for me because the band's tour in support of this album was the first concert that I ever attended sans parents. So it really stands out for me. Almost every morning that I attended high school, little story how I got these, I was late, nearly late, like every day. Every damn morning, I would be waiting in my kitchen for my friend to come pick me up. This dude lived on the block right next to mine, but he was late every fucking day. So after a while, I caught on to the fact that our local radio station was always doing giveaways around like 7:30 in the morning, which happened to be the time that most kids were in school already or on their way to school. So since I was sitting in my kitchen like a jerk off waiting for him to show up, I would listen to WRV, which is my local 92.7, and I would wait for these contests. And think about it. Half their listeners in that demographic were busy doing something else. So I was right there to win whatever contest they had in the morning. Caller number 9, shit, no problem. I probably won over a dozen CDs from them, and I won concert tickets to this tour. Being late sucks, but it worked for me. So this album right here, it was the band's 11th studio album. It was their first album in 4 years. The album would go on to sell 20 million copies worldwide. It went 7 times platinum in the United States. It had the first ever digital download. It was from an unreleased track called Head First, which I think was a Brent selection. But Brent Hand from Hysteria 51.
Right.
I think last year it might have been the episode with Rhonda Shear on it. He talked about that right there. But this album also featured 7 singles. Seven. How many albums do you know with 7 singles?
Not many.
Not me. I don't either. But surprisingly, none of those 7 singles would hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. However, most of these, they would land around the top 20, and they absolutely lived on MTV. And let's face facts. I mean, at this point in the decade, MTV was way more important than the Billboards were. If you dominated, say, like Dial MTV, you were played all day, every day. And these songs did just that. And not only were the songs catchy, but the videos were also like mini movies. So you had Living on the Edge with Ed Furlong, Eat the Rich, Crying with Alicia Silverstone, Amazing with Alicia Silverstone again. And Jason London was in that one too, I think. And then Crazy, which featured Steven Tyler's daughter, Liv Tyler, and Alicia motherfucking Silverstone again. And I mean, by now, I'm sure everyone has figured this one out. It's Get a Grip by Aerosmith. Do you guys remember how much they dominated the MTV airways? And it's weird because you had the grunge era, like 90 through 92, early 93. And then Aerosmith just fucking killed it for like a year.
Yeah, that's where I stopped liking Aerosmith. You just kind of got burnt out. They saturated the airwaves. They saturated MTV. They were in cameos in movies. They were on Saturday Night Live, everywhere.
It's amazing. But yeah, that's what I got. It's Get a Grip.
Not bad. You can't go wrong with Liv Tyler and Alicia Silverstone. So it's multiple times. So it's, fan. I think she's absolutely celestial. You know, back in still now, but even more so back then. But I think they were playing on. There was a theme going on at that time, and Alicia Silverstone was a little bit more down to earth, homey girl next door. Even though being in Clueless was was airheady, but because she was in a ton of videos, not just everybody else, including Aerosmith videos, but everything else as well. But it was this kind of maybe over sexualization of actually really young girls, right? But they're so beautiful that you almost give it a pass. But it wasn't geared towards the adults at the time. But Liv Tyler, because the other one that they really kind of, because so striking when you see them on camera, like a young Mila Jovovich, was absolutely stunning. Yep. And she's in Two Moon Junction. You're like, what is happening here? So that was just sort of like indicative of that time.
You know what's weird too about the Alicia Silverstone thing? Sorry, Mark. She emancipated from her parents at 15.
Smart.
So she didn't have to go by the child labor laws and all that kind of shit. So she was in everything at 15, 16 years old.
I mean, this is Aerosmith we're talking about here. Steven Tyler did get the parents to basically sign over their 14-year-old daughter to Steven Tyler so he could take her on the road with her. So,
Is that allegedly, or do we need to use allegedly? Like, how does it work?
Let's use it anyway.
let's use allegedly, just in case.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, my music pick is a tour. Now, it's actually a tour that was set to start on February 27th in Fort Worth, Texas. But the tour was delayed due to the singer contracting laryngitis. So, fortunately for me, Led Zeppelin's monumental 1977 Tour of America began April 1st, 1977 at the Dallas Memorial Auditorium, where, according to ads and posters, you could pick up a ticket to this show for the low price of $7.50. Now, if you wanted the premium seats, though, you got to be prepared to shell out upwards of $9.50. So we'll turn it over to Kaleidoscope guest reviewer Doug Pullen for a local review. The spotlight hit Jimmy Page, his arms extended warmly into the recent sold-out Dallas crowd, as if he wanted to embrace each and every member of it. As Page and the rest of his group, drummer John Bonham, bassist John Paul Jones, and vocalist Robert Plant took the stage, the predominantly adolescent crowd went wild. Quickly, Led Zeppelin was kicking off its first American tour in over 2 years with a feverish version of The Song Remains the Same. In April of 1977, the tour would roll through most of the Midwest, ending the month of April at the Pontiac Silverdome. Now, for a show that at the time was the largest audience ever for a single-act rock show. So the world tour would actually be cut short, unfortunately, and come to an end July 24th when Robert Plant's 5-year-old son died of a stomach illness. Now, the song All of My Love is actually written as a tribute to his son. So that's my pick for April music of 1977, the start of the final United States tour for Led Zeppelin.
Why is it that every time Led Zeppelin comes up on the show, it's something horrible?
Yeah,
I mean,
know.
not the tour, but the fact that you had to bring up his 5-year-old son dying. And I think every other time that they've come up, it's like the, John Bonham dying in 80. And then the awful Live Aid appearance, I think, was the other time that they've come.
And this tour, this 77 tour, was just plagued with problems from start to finish. So you could actually do a whole episode just on the 77 tour.
Which we might do when we start our Patreon is started. Once we get 50 people on that Patreon, I'm going to drop a little spot here. We will start that grimy 70s show where we go in depth on some fucked up shit from the 70s, because there's a lot of it.
Yeah, like Annie Hall.
All right, let's toss it down to Andre Gower for the music round.
Okay, so for music, you guys picked Mancrush. You started out with a tour, but it was really about the album, Get a Grip with Aerosmith. And Mark started about a tour, because that's how we experience music, and that's the way everybody wants to go and listen to these rad bands or these artists is hear live performances. But Mancrush, you made a good point, even in 93, especially in 93, that if you were big on MTV, that's where it was at the time for a long and then MTV stopped showing music and they started building houses or some shit. But I mean, at least it was Vanilla Ice. But I think this is an obvious no-brainer. One of my all-time favorite songs personally, but it was also released in my birthday month of 1986. That's not my birthday year, that's just my birthday month. And so I will tease into it. We all know what it is. In April of 86, song released by English rock musician Peter Gabriel. It was released as the lead single from his 5th studio album, So, on 21st of April, which happens to be my sister's birthday. Mine's the 27th, in case anybody wants to send me $100. It was
my parents' anniversary.
It quickly reached #1 in Canada. It reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in the United States, and #4, oddly, being a native, we went to #4 on the UK singles charts, mostly thanks to the popularity and the world-crushing attention that the music video got, which of course is Sledgehammer. So when Sledgehammer came out, everybody's mind was blown. We all we all set our VCRs on, either Friday afternoon to catch Richard Blade on VH1 or Saturday afternoons. We know we'd maybe get Sledgehammer on MTV. And the thing about it, obviously, it's the song. The album, kind of did okay, but this song was just galactic. I mean, the song went, because it's a good song, but the video just blew everybody's mind. And it won 9 MTV Video Music Awards, which is still the most all-time of any single video. Won the Best British Video the next year, and was nominated for 3 Grammys, including Best Male Rock Performance, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. But again, all of the attention is really on the video and the visual representation that they did with all the pixelation, stop motion, and claymation of Peter Gabriel's. Apparently, he was under a sheet of glass for like 16 hours while they did all the other stop motion on top of him, and then cut all that together with all the technology and maybe an IBM PC convertible.
Supercomputer.
But it's considered number 4 on MTV's 100 greatest music videos ever made. It's also been declared MTV's number 1 animated video of all time, and there's been quite a few animated videos because it's a great way to express kind of some media there. It just, I mean, you almost don't even need the stats, but something that's really cool is in that year it was nominated for British Single of the Year. It won British Video of the Year. Again, it's gonna be all videos. It was nominated for 3 Grammys, didn't win any of it, but it won all those 9 MTV Video Music Awards, which were Best Editing, Best Art Direction, Best Visual Effects, Best Direction, Best Overall Performance, Most Experimental Video, Best Concept Video, Best Male Video, and of course, Video of the Year. But what's also rad is that it was nominated for Best Video of the Year at the Soul Train Music Awards, which means the video everybody liked.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
So it's and it peaked as a song at number 1, like I said, very quickly on, let's say, just call it US Billboard. But like you said, Mancrush, if you're on MTV killing it, Billboard doesn't really matter, except for that helps with sales and radio play. But this thing was crushing it everywhere. And so it went on, to number 1 at 3 or 4 different US Billboard charts all at the same time. So my music choice from the album So is Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. There you go.
All right, Judge Joe Findlay, swing down that gavel just like a sledgehammer on the music round.
All right. Well, another great round, guys. Again, breaks down to a giant band, a giant album, and a giant song. And so, I mean, I look at all of the things, obviously the Led Zeppelin tour being the final tour, having that death being delayed, all sorts of stuff with that tour is, it's a crazy story in and of itself. Get a Grip. That hit me right at the right time. I was just going into high school. No, not quite even. But it was.
Wait, how old are you, Joe?
I don't know. So what's your year again? You're not
93.
93. Okay, yeah. So it was just before I went to high school. I'm 39. So I remember hearing that song all the time, or the songs on that thing all the time. Eat the Rich still slaps. It's a great way to start out that album. And I heard so much Aerosmith in that period, because like you said, they were all over the things. I don't get MTV. I've got Much Music, but they were all over that too. And Alicia and Liv changed my life. But
you got carpal tunnel that year.
No, yeah, it was a rough year. But I got carpal tunnel playing Revolution X, the Aerosmith gun game, where when you lost, he said, "Don't give up."
Oh man, I forgot that.
So I mean, that album's fantastic, but I have to give it to Innovation, and that music video is insane for the time. I mean, like it's one of those things where, looking back on it, like, you could get one of your kids to watch it and they'd be like, "Oh my God, this thing sucks," and you're like, "No, you don't understand." It's like showing them Pong. Right? You're like, "No, do you know what this made? Like, everything you like is because this had to exist." So I've got to give it to Sledgehammer.
I can't fault you on that. I think like especially in 1986. So you had what, 5 years of MTV at that point, and what videos stood out? Not the songs, but the videos. What videos stood out during that period besides Thriller? Yeah. And that's the other one you think of is Sledgehammer.
Yeah, I think there's 3. One, Thriller, because it was a mini movie.
Mhm.
you know, with the extended,
Yep.
you know, land.
And they sold this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it had creature effects and, you know, it was, you know, and the album was huge, obviously. And then Sledgehammer, but wedged in between there. And Sledgehammer was really actually just camera tech with pixelation, little animation, and claymation. It was mostly kind of the stop moves, a lot of stuff going on, which was certainly innovative, but just more kind of creative and time consuming. But remember when everybody lost their minds over Money for Nothing by Dire
Yes.
Straits?
Oh yeah.
That was
Because
the other
it
one I
was
was thinking of.
all computer generated, and people they're like, oh my God, the computers are taking over. Like, oh, like it's all over. Look how awesome this is. But, you know, Joe, you made a point. It's like you watch kids see a, you know, a computer generated image that
Do it
is
on
Money
your
for
phone.
Nothing. It's so
Like,
bad.
I just did
It's
that.
so bad. You know, the guy just gets up out of the chair and it's so simple. Like there's 3-year-olds on an iPad right now that have better kind of animation skills than Money for Nothing. But that's a great song too, because Dire Straits was a great band. But yeah, I agree. Good choice. Sledgehammer was absolutely it was game changing.
Yeah, for sure. And then
All right,
Genesis had a great video too. I'm sorry.
Oh
Yeah.
I'd throw that with Land of Confusion was
yeah,
fucking
with all
great
the
too.
yeah,
puppets,
yeah,
man,
good-
that was killer.
Yeah.
His ex band.
Oh yeah, those guys.
All right, Andre, you pick up a point heading into our first 2-point rounds. What category are we going with next?
Oh, I get to pick, huh? All right. Well, I think I know what to do here. No, I'm gonna play strategy. Yes. TV.
All right.
Let's go with TV.
Okay.
Oh, I go first since I picked?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Honestly, I really don't have a lot to say about this because there wasn't a lot that opened in TV stuff where someone comes out because it's a weird time. So you're either going with movies of the week or like a special or some sort of interesting kind of syndicated produced thing. And that's really all your choices. And I almost went with Return to Mayberry, which was, they brought back a TV movie for Andy Griffith's show, which probably could have stood alone as my choice because it brought back 16 original cast members. And it was the highest grossing or highest rated TV movie of 1986 for all the networks, which there was only three, which were only three. But that was on NBC. Even though, and I love it, I love the Andy Griffith show. One of the original OG kids, former child stars being Ron Howard.
Can you whistle the theme song? Yeah.
And if you don't know, Mayberry is actually a fictional town, of course, on like the Universal lot, but it's formed after a town in North Carolina called Mount Airy off of Highway 77 by and Andy Griffith, who's from North Carolina, and Mount Airy is kind of rhymes with Mayberry, and that's where you
Have you ever been to Mount Airy?
I have been. I've been to Mount Airy. I've lived in North Carolina for 20-something years.
It's not too far from where I live, and Mount Airy's awesome, man.
Do you guys know the beautiful Mount Airy Lodge?
I do not know the Mount Airy Lodge.
The beautiful Mount Airy Lodge.
Sorry, we got on Mayberry. That's weird. Sorry, weird tangent again. But that was the only one with kind of some history and some coolness to it. My actual choice, I think, needs no like explanation because it was probably the most hyped thing ever on television that had the most disappointing conclusion. and that was Geraldo Rivera's opening of Al Capone's vault.
Yes.
Which is that has come up on the show before, but it wasn't in a year battle. It was a genre thing,
Right.
and they did find some boxes in a dusty room. So
and that's right, and some broken wine bottle.
But you're 100% right. There's not much to say about it.
There is not.
There wasn't much.
But that was the highest rated thing on television, I think, of all of 1986.
It absolutely was. That's its only accolade, because it was so hyped for weeks. But what I don't get is, like, because it was supposed to be live, right? And it was a whole live thing. And I don't know if it was truly live or it was still bullshit like the original reality TV. Like, they know what's in there, but I think they probably would have planted something, at least, you know, like a pair of underwear or something, or like a skull or something. But there's nothing in there, so it might have been live. Because at one point, Jerry Rivers was an actual journalist, and would cover some good stuff. So I think they were doing it the kind of journalistic way, and break through the brick wall and go in there. There's nothing in there. How disappointing to have this hype and be like, wah, wah. Da, 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 da. Kidding.
The worst, man. I think that was my selection as well for the whatever episode that was. I think it was was it the true crime episode that we had?
Think it was the true
might have
crime
been.
episode.
If you'll go back, you'll find that it was Joe Findlay's pick, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay. All right. Was it? No, you weren't on the true crime show. Oh, yes, you were on the true crime show. You won that episode.
I've been in a lot of episodes now.
Yes,
I was
you
starting to
have.
look back, and I'm like, oh man, maybe you guys are gonna get sick of me sooner.
You know
than
what's
later.
really cool though that I've noticed? If you do this show a lot, you're an excellent judge. Joe knows how to break it down, and he knows what to look at. I like it.
Oh, thank you.
I like it. I'm not pandering.
You all should be. That's the problem, though. I'm very susceptible to that.
Well, you were, because you were giving him a little shit there by saying, like, you weren't on that show. That wasn't your pick. That was mine.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. He's the judge tonight. I saw it switch right there, Mancrush. I saw it switch. Way to butter your toast.
I butter my rules.
All right. Well, let's see if Judge Joe Findlay likes my pick for the television round here, because the biggest thing on television, April of 1977, was a 6.5-hour two-part television miniseries that began on April 3rd and ended on April 10th, just in time for Easter. Nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards and starring Christopher Plummer, Ian McShane, Ernest Borgnine, and the sexy Anne Bancroft as Mary Magdalene, I present to you the television event, Jesus of Nazareth, the first half of Franco Zeffirini's television film on the life of Jesus Christ. It swamped all competing programs on Sunday night, according to the Nielsen overnight ratings for New York and Los Angeles. The telecast, which covered most of the prime time period on NBC, drew a 46% share of the audience in New York and a 53% share in Los Angeles. Oof. On the basis of those ratings, the NBC research predicts a total audience of 90 million viewers for the entire presentation. Now, side note, the U.S. population in 1977 was only 220 million, and this program garnered 90 million of that. Now, the director originally considered Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino for the role of Jesus, but settled on Robert Powell, who looked so much like Jesus in pictures that the crew actually refused to use foul language around him. Beginning before the Nativity and extending throughout the crucifixion and resurrection, the miniseries brings to life together all the sweeping drama in the life of Jesus, as told by the gospel. Spoilers, he dies in the end. It's Jesus of Nazareth, April 1977.
Did they nail Robert Powell to the cross at the end of the production? And how many of those 90 million people actually stayed awake for the entire thing?
There was no way that thing
higher
was
ratings
riveting.
with Pacino.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture that screen test. Like, what do we got here? We're like, what do we got? We got some Romans.
Hey, this is going to be my last supper.
All right, Mancrush, let's hear what you... All right, Mancrush, let's hear what you have for the television round.
Oh man, I could not be any different than both of your selections. All right, so let's go April 6, 1993. And it's not very often that we ever get to select something from a basic cable channel. Actually, I'm not sure. Sports channel, was that basic cable or premium cable in 93? I'm pretty sure
I think
it was
started
basic
on
cable.
I think it started on basic and then moved to premium.
Yeah, because I think I don't know, it was right around the time I had the black box. But we used to watch if the Mets games weren't on WPIX, they were on Sports Channel and we got it. So I'm not really sure. Anywho, this show, it was launched on a Tuesday night at 6 p.m. on a regional Philadelphia feed for Sports Channel America. This is a pretty deep cut. I mean, not on a major network, not a national feed, and on before prime time. So it sounds like this has the makings to be a real gem. Such a deep cut. I mean, newspapers.com, the TV listings from 1993 didn't even show the correct name of the show. I'll take that back. It's correct, but it's not the name that we knew it as. I'm always looking for wrestling when we look at TV listings. Again, like we mentioned last week, usually every night, except for tonight, we do our TV listings on Facebook, where we go back and we pick a selection in time and we put 6 different programs and let people see what was on television. And I'm always looking for wrestling when we do those. And if you want to check that out, www.facebook.com, www.facebook.com/Dueling Decades. There's almost 80,000 people on there now. It's blowing up. So go and check that out. But I'm sure wrestling fans know this, but maybe some others don't. So prior to Extreme Championship Wrestling, the name of the company was actually Eastern Championship Wrestling. And in the early days, before Paul Heyman took over, or Paulie Dangerously, whatever you want to call him, ECW owner was Todd Gordon. He had the late hot stuff Eddie Gilbert. He was running the show and he was doing all the booking. So technically the name Eastern Championship Wrestling is the correct name in the TV listings for what I found. About a year later, they switched the name over to ECW in the newspapers. They dropped the full name and it pretty much stuck all the way up to late 1999 when ECW, they were picked up on TNN and they were called ECW Hardcore TV. But this particular show right here, it would end up running for 401 episodes. And it stayed on the air all the way up until December 31st, 2000. Of course, then they were bought out by WWE or WWF at the time still in 2001. But even though this show, it was fairly regional at the time, it's super important to the wrestling landscape. We've talked about this on previous episodes. Wrestling in the early part of the 90s was honestly pretty shitty as a whole. I think we just talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of like no man's land in the early 90s. It wasn't great. It wasn't super bad, but it was like kind of in the middle. Nobody, like some people watched, some people didn't. You had WCW. They just ended things with Jim Crockett Promotions. So they weren't an NWA spot anymore. And the WWF, they had a few bright spots, except for the fact that they were regurgitating like all these 80s wrestling personas that just didn't really inspire new viewers. So ECW comes along and they completely changed the game. This right here, this was the Attitude Era before the Attitude Era. And honestly, I believe this. If you don't have ECW on television, you don't get the Attitude Era. There's tons of examples that I could toss out about this, but I'll leave you with one. And I was thinking about this earlier. So in 1995, WCW, they fire Steve Austin. Austin stops by ECW for a cup of tea. He's there for basically, I don't know, like 6-8 months. And he's still dealing with a knee injury. So he has nothing to do in the beginning. So he just has time to develop his craft. So Paul Heyman, he tutors him in the art of cutting a promo. So he's there just cutting these insane promos as he had never done before. Mark's the WCW guy. Was he cutting any of these promos in WCW?
Not even close.
Not even close.
No.
And he basically develops like this whole stone cold persona during that like 6 to 8 month period while he's in ECW. He doesn't call himself Stone Cold, but he's building it right there. This is the foundation for that whole thing. So I look at it like this: without ECW on television, do you get Stone Cold Steve Austin? And if you don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin, do you get the Attitude Era? If you don't get the, like, do you have the Monday Night Wars? I mean, this is something to ponder. If you don't have this ECW television show, what happens to the whole landscape of wrestling during that decade?
Yeah, well, you bring up Steve Austin, you got to bring up Brian Pillman as well.
Oh yeah,
who
there's
did
a lot.
Brian Pillman did the similar thing. He went to ECW and totally revamped his whole character and became, you know, that wild man that we saw later on.
Sure. I went for the low hanging fruit here. And side note, I saw his son at the airport when I was in Jacksonville last month. Cool guy. But in any event, this is the debut of ECW on television, April 6th, 1993.
Wow.
All right, Joe Findlay, let's kick it up to you for the ruling on the television round.
Wow, another good one, guys. The enormity of the audience for the Jesus of Nazareth thing can't be ignored, but it's one of those things too. It's like I always kind of minimize it in the 70s because it's like, how much did it really have to compete with? You know, it was either that or chain smoking. So
The
I
clergy
think
did a lot of both. So
yeah. I really liked Jesus of Nazareth. It was really good. So that I mean, that one's that. ECW. Oh man, this is like my choice between these two is tough. ECW is, again, it's exactly what you said, Mancrush. The amount of people who wouldn't have existed in the way that we know them, it all comes through there. And I've seen some great documentaries on ECW and how they struggled and how a lot of people went through there and, you know, earned their chops one way or another through there, and then going to WCW, then WWE, or any cyclical way, but it all filters through ECW to make them better. There was a certain raw aspect of it, no pun intended, with WWE, but yeah, and the people like Rob Van Dam and all these people, I don't think that them as they were would have even had a spot in the other shows at that time, despite their skill, because it was too outside of their box. And then they realized they had to change their box to kind of catch up to what these guys were doing. And like you said, hence the Attitude Era is born. Now, I mean, a million reasons why I like the pick for the Geraldo one, because yes, indeed, that was a pick of mine, and if it's good enough for me then, it should be good enough for me now, right? I think it has a broader frame of reference for people. I mean, you know, The Simpsons sang about nothing in Al Capone's vault. Nobody ever mentioned the debut of WCW or ECW. So I just, by this much, I mean, just a teeny tiny tug of war. The rope is just over the side for Geraldo in this one.
Can you imagine the 90s without the Attitude Era? What are you talking about?
A lot of people could imagine the 90s without wrestling, though. I couldn't.
Can you imagine television today, which is all faux sensationalist journalism, without Geraldo's Capone vault?
Well, Geraldo's still there.
I know.
That's right. It's all that was the beginning of sensationalism that was supposed to be a news story.
Yeah.
Man.
Usually
Remember
you get fired after giving away military secrets live on the air, but not this guy.
Remember when he got punched by KKK members and broke his nose?
Yeah, that was a chair. He got the chair.
Oh, his chair. That's
Yeah,
right.
the chair flew across.
Oh,
you know what? That was the best
ECW.
thing for him. The original ECW with the chair.
Oh, so maybe that's
where they got the idea.
Okay,
that's the Attitude Era.
Look, him getting his nose broken was the best thing on air it ever happened to him.
Oh, absolutely.
Ever happened to him. He's the original social media kind of guy and learned how to play it.
Yeah. Well, and it was probably the biggest thing to happen to the genre of tabloid TV. Does Jerry Springer exist without that, or Boot Camp Sally Jesse Raphael?
Hey, Sally was awesome.
Sally, they were. I mean, they all have their place, but it's just, you know, as it developed, everybody kind of started doing the same thing. It was all pregnancy tests.
Donahue tried to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Oprah came in and did it right, but better and more, attractive to a bigger audience, which was actually your daytime audience. And so those two kind of battled, and then she crushed him. So they had to, but that was legit stuff. Those were real people. Like the other channels had to go the other way.
I think Andre should lose a point there for not bringing up Ricky Lake.
That was much later. I'm in the 80s. You have 90s.
Oh,
Yeah, but come on, it's Ricky Lake, bro. Come on.
Oh my God.
All right,
She is
Andre.
great.
All right, Andre, you picked up 2 points in that round. You jump out to the lead, heading into the final round, the news round. Now you have the opportunity to start off here or defer to one of us.
I defer.
Oh,
All right.
he's playing the game.
all right.
All right, guys. Well, I'll start off the news round. And my news story I found tucked away on page 23 of the Daily News in New York, April 26, 1977. A building that last functioned as a television studio in 1973 for Love of Life will find new life tonight as a discotheque. Does the city need a new discotheque? The trio of owners, Steve Rubell, Ian Schrager, and Jack Dushy, think so. There's been a lull, Rubell explained. The last one to open was Regine's, and that fashionable dance spot opened a year ago. Actually, the day that Rubell made that statement, yet one more discotheque opened, Sybil's, in the New York Hilton. Anyway, get ready for Studio 54, a former CBS studio known as Studio 52. The previous name seems a bit odd for the location, 254th West 54th Street, but the networks numbered its studios in the order that they came into existence. So we're taking the venture to Broadway, Rubell said. Even though a lot of people advised us against it, the project is being approached from a theatrical standpoint. With lighting and scenery by Jules Fisher and Paul Morantz, they have devised a variety of effects, according to Rubell, such as occasional snowstorms, a volcano, a solar system, and a wind machine. But, not one that's strong enough to whip the dancers off the floor. The general design and seating fixtures are done by Ron Duell, the designer of the Fashion Plate WPA restaurant in Soho. Now, the cost for all of those renovations for opening night was about $400,000 in 1977. So today, that's about $1.7 million. The new discotheque actually did pretty well its first year in business. Rubell was quoted in saying in city newspapers that Studio 54 had made $7 million its first year, and that only the Mafia had made more money. This, though, unfortunately got the attention of the IRS, and shortly after that, the nightclub was raided, and Rubell and Schrager were arrested for skimming $2.5 million. Studio 54 closed with a final party on the night of February 2nd to the 3rd of 1980, which I believe was a former pick on the show of mine. That's what I got for the news round. The opening of Studio 54, April 26, 1977.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So it was only open like 2.5 years, huh?
Yeah, well, that was the initial run. It did open up again after, but it wasn't even close to being the same.
Yeah, I went to the one in Vegas. Lame. There was nobody was doing blow. There was no naked people running around.
You obviously didn't go to the right part. I've been to that studio. That's where I hung out with Carrot Top and got hammered with Carrot Top at Studio 54. And I saw the Go-Go's at Studio 54.
God, and there was people doing coke and getting all sweaty and naked. I
didn't need coke. I didn't need coke. I just got sweaty and naked anyway.
He didn't need coke. He had Carrot Top.
That's right. I was having a salad. It was fine.
I renewed my vows in Vegas in June, so there was plenty of sweaty and naked going on.
I got married in Vegas. That's a
Nice.
little pandering to the judge right there. The Luxor.
I've got you beat. I did as well at the Little Church of the West where Britney Spears got married.
Oh, wow.
Drive through.
But walk in.
Oh, walk in. All right. Did you get the
vow-
calendar? Did you get the pictures? The
Oh no,
picture package?
we got package B, which was a little cheaper.
Yeah, my
Those
wedding
mugs.
my wedding vow renewal we did right in front of the Welcome to the Las Vegas sign.
Yeah.
We actually
nice.
we actually held everybody up, and there was a minister service that would go anywhere you wanted. So we had him go there, and there was an Elvis there, and we took pictures of him. I'll send you some.
Solid.
Nice.
Solid.
It was great.
Now that now, have you been lately? There's a whole like parking lot and everything there, so people aren't crossing the strip to get to that site. It's what a better idea. Too many people got hit by cars, so they built like a thing. So much better.
All right, Mancrush, what did you bring for the news round?
All right, so let's go to April 26, 1993. And as I mentioned previously, this is my second go around with April of 1993. Like I said earlier, no repeats. There was plenty to choose from this month. So before I may get accused of bypassing a huge news story, please go back and check out the last time I had April of 1993. I won't tell you what that pick was, but I will say it's something that Joe Findlay would typically bring to a news round. So if you want Death and Despair, go and find that episode wherever podcasts are found. Better yet, head over to duelingdecades.sounder.fm, where you can use their transcription service and you can search whatever you'd like, whether that pick or anything else that we said. It's all on there. It's actually pretty cool. Duelingdecades.sounder.fm. Anyway, here's a story that I found entitled No, Not Barbarian by Bob Langford. And I quote, he says, say it over and over. Late night with Conan O'Brien? Late night with Conan O'Brien. Nope. Just doesn't sound right, does it? For the record, Conan O'Brien was the editor of the Harvard Lampoon. He wrote for his new boss, Lorne Michaels, on Saturday Night Live for the past 2 years. He's been a writer on The Simpsons. Last week, NBC sent a fax to its affiliates, and that looked as if Gary Shandling would be the new host of Late Night. But Shandling and the network couldn't get together on when he could start. Letterman leaves NBC in June, and he takes over at 11:30 at CBS on August 23rd. So NBC wanted Shandling in place by then, but he's busy till then, and he might be doing the best show on television, HBO's Larry Sanders Show. Shandling offered to start in September, but NBC said no. And now the network and everyone else are stuck with Conan O'Brien. When the news announcement was made, CBS was popping champagne corks. You don't think this is fodder for Dave's NBC jokes for the next 2 months? If these were baseball cards, no 6-year-old in the country would trade Letterman for O'Brien straight up. O'Brien's resume means he must be successful and a funny guy. None of it means he ought to be the host of Late Night. As you imagine, NBC affiliates are perplexed. To put it mildly, WRDC's Vicky Streets sums it up by saying, who the hell is he? This came out of nowhere. I'm sitting here stunned. Well, let me tell you, fucking Bob and what's her name? Vicky Street, who I've never heard of. Yeah, it only lasted 16 seasons and 2,725 episodes and brought us some of the funniest shit late night programming has ever had. Look at the network late night shows. They've been dog shit since Conan. He was erroneously removed from the Tonight Show. Fallon, he was all right for a while. Now he's meh. Colbert is a dumpster fire. Seth Meyers is ass crap. Corden, meh. And Kimmel's a turd. I mean, when Conan leaves TBS for good next June, late night shows are dead. He is the last of the Mohegans when it comes to late night shows. Triumph the Insult Dog. He says, fuck off, Bob. I'm going to leave that with you. It's the announcement of Late Night with Conan O'Brien. I mean, talk about timing, though. Had Shandling been able to take over the show, can you imagine how the landscape would have been? We might not even have gotten Conan.
Yeah. I don't think Shandling would have fared too well.
I mean, it was late night, but I mean,
he was better at mocking Late Night. So.
Oh God, Conan is fucking incredible.
He stuck with the right show. He stuck with Larry Sanders instead of going to the late night. It was much more successful. All right, so this is news. Boy, we had the opening of Studio 54, which was iconic, monumental, and then entertainment based again with Conan O'Brien. It's interesting. Those are both big news things. The obvious big news thing that happened in April of '86 should have been the return of Halley's Comet, which only comes around every 75 years or so. That would have been a cool, like we freak out over eclipses and everything. This is even, this is even cooler. This is a huge astronomical event. And that should have been like the highlight news event of April. Everybody likes April. It's spring. Everybody's going out. They're wearing shorts. Birds are chirping. Until the April 26th of 1986, which ended up with, and honestly, your opening of Studio 54, that was a worldwide type of thing, but basically it was a New York thing. The Conan O'Brien thing on TV, it's basically a US-based kind of media empire, kind of slugfest. This was a little different type of event. This was the Chernobyl nuclear reactor meltdown.
Oh, God.
Has a little bigger impact than those two things, in my opinion.
Right up Joe's alley.
Yep.
Just and it couldn't have come in any better time. Basically, it's '86, height of the Cold War. We're all Cold War kids. It's Reagan versus everybody, and it's G.I. Joe versus Cobra, and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone against all of the bad Russians and all of their proxies. But Chernobyl, was a crappy nuclear reactor site in Ukraine. It occurred on Saturday, April 26th, at the number 4 reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It's considered the worst nuclear disaster in the history of the world, both in terms of cost and casualties, and is one of only 2 nuclear energy accidents rated at a 7, which happens to be the maximum severity number on the International Nuclear Event Scale, the other being the 2011 Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in Japan, which, that was a nuclear disaster because of an earthquake and a tsunami. So there was 3 things that had to happen for Fukushima to fuck it up. And Chernobyl was just bad, stolen Russian tech run by people that probably shouldn't have been running it. And the irony, the humor of Chernobyl accident, it was started during a safety test.
Oh, God.
So let's just say don't run any safety tests because you're not safe. But it was crazy because I remember the news coverage of this. We thought the world was, this is kind of, like I said, height of Cold War. We thought, we watched the morning after, we watch all the drill, like this is coming out of it, but we're still there. Like we could all be gone literally in the blink of an eye. Stallone's not going to save you. Reagan's going to be in a bunker somewhere, and we're all literally toast. But huge Cold War, and I'm a huge Cold War kind of, I'm not a buff, but I'm sort of an enthusiast, if you will. Love the history, love the movies, love the espionage and the intelligence service and the geopolitics.
You got like posters and shit.
No, I just have all the books. That's right. It's just absolutely phenomenal of what, and by the way, it's still going on.
Yeah.
We've just actually reverted back. They've reverted back to 70s and 80s workbooks coming out of Moscow now. And who knows? Like, hopefully this was, just a safety check, boo-boo that, didn't work very well. But it became the biggest news thing for a long time. I mean, it was on the TV, it was scary as shit. Was the cloud going to come this way? Which way was the wind blowing? And ironically, at the time, fewer than 100 people died because of the accident. And then there's varying estimates of how many, dozens or whatever for, exposure and after that. But according to the stats, the damage control and the cleanup estimated over 500,000 personnel worked on cleaning this thing up. And of course, they're probably all dead. And of course, there's no hard numbers and estimates because we're relying on Russian stats or Russian media, which you're never going to get that number. And it's probably 3 million people died from this thing, but there's no, confirmations of anything, of course, coming out of the Kremlin, just like nothing changes, from 1916 on. It's been 105 years of exactly the same stuff, and we're still battling the same proxy wars and playing the cyber game. And man, what a different world it would have been if Patton had gotten his way. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Rah Rah Go USA, but fuck that, rah rah go USA when it comes to the Cold War, right? We came out on top. So there's not really much to say. Like I said, there's not many stats. It just dominated the news worldwide for a long period of time. And 30 years later, they have a huge, series on premium services now. So it still has a lasting effect. Yeah, we had documentaries of Studio 54, and Conan O'Brien is now on TBS. So those things still have lasting power. Chernobyl was a ground shaker. But it's funny in comparison. I'm not sure what killed more people, Chernobyl or Studio 54. So I don't really know.
Neither.
So I'll leave that. I'll leave the impact of the news story up to our esteemed judge.
Yeah. Conan comes out clean on that one for the murders.
Yeah, thank God.
That we know.
Ever watched the YouTube? It's not like a YouTube series or anything, but there's a lot of YouTubers. I don't know if they're Russian or whatever, but they go back there, like they go through the restricted areas, and they go into the housing units and shit. It's fucking weird. It's very eerie.
So
it's
creepy.
Pretty crazy shit.
All we have is Centralia, Pennsylvania. They've got Chernobyl to walk through and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the one with like flames coming through the streets and shit, right?
Yeah, that's the one where there's a coal fire in a coal mine in the 70s, and then they had to evacuate the town.
It never stopped
because the toxic and the fire is still burning.
It's awesome.
All right, Joe Findlay, let's kick it down to you for the final ruling on this game.
Oh man, right off the bat, you give me that Studio 54, and I'm like, well, this round's over. I guess we got a spoiler. And I was like, Studio 54, that's gigantic. Then I get hit with Conan, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so much harder. No hyperbole. Conan is my all-time comedy hero. I would say the two people, when I look back, who shaped me for my love of comedy over from childhood to adolescence would have been Steve Martin and Conan O'Brien, and those are the two. That's it. And
where does the masturbating bear fit in to that?
What he taught me a lot of things. It was right around that time when the Get a Grip album came out. I don't want to get too deep into it. But
that's why it's called Get a Grip.
Yeah, precisely. And
I mean, it was right there. I had to take it. So.
No, absolutely. I love that. But the Conan's impact, it's exactly what you said. The late night wars between Leno and Letterman were their own thing. Letterman has his own impact. To me, Conan was in a personality what Carson used to be. But then all these other people just diluted the pool, and he was so funny and continued to innovate. And when he moved to TBS, I actually saw his live show when he was between Tonight Show and the TBS show. I saw him live in Toronto, and it was just an outstanding live show. And he just, doing what he can to kind of keep his people working and keep himself from going insane. And you can watch his documentary, Conan O'Brien Can't Stop, for all the kind of stuff on that. And then he continued to innovate. He's like, you know what? We're taking this hour down to a half hour. We're going to cut out all the fat, have a sketch, have a guest, get out. And then he took on the podcast game, and Present Company excluded. He's got probably one of the best podcasts going. So, I can't say enough about him. And then Andre, of course, you bring up Chernobyl, which there is no bigger news story. There's no questioning that between the three. I actually covered, I had a news story that covered a little bit of Chernobyl one time, but it wasn't the actual happening of it. It was something kind of on the back end that I just got to sneak in. But I'm always bringing the bad news, but it's so hard because if I pick any of these, it feels like I'm spitting in the face of the significance of the other two, and they're all so huge.
Put it this way, Mark's already out of the game, so
no,
like...
I know.
Chernobyl, that accident helped end the Cold War. Like it changed the world. It helped bring down the Soviet Union.
So did Conan.
So did
yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Conan put it down forever. I'm Canadian. I live a Cold War every year. I'm doing fine. It's so hard. My heart's telling me to go with Conan. I know it's nuts, but that's what my heart tells me, and my heart tells me that, and it tells me you're gonna die soon. So I believe it when it tells me something.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up 2 points in that round. You steal the lead away from Andre, and you win this game.
Woo! Fart gun. I haven't brought that out in a while. That was a close one. I didn't know where Joe was gonna go because usually Joe goes with the really negative impact stuff. So as soon as you said Chernobyl, I'm like,
you mean like the actual news?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See it like that.
Got it.
There's when you look at this game, and Mark and I talk about this all the time, we try to keep it light. And there's so much bullshit that goes on in the regular news all the time that I personally don't like to bring anything that's too shitty, because just turn on TV and you'll see shitty stuff all day, so I try to stay away from that. But
Al Capone's vault.
Yeah, like Al Capone, that's funny shit though. Like it's such a bad thing that happened.
I'd rather watch Chernobyl disaster.
Fair.
It's probably more interesting.
They were both empty rooms of dusty, crumbling shit. It's the same thing.
Dude, I'm super impressed how you came out on your first.
And I winged. I just looked this stuff up yesterday and I winged it, but I lived through it, so it was cool.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you talk from the heart, I think you could sell a lot more shit than the pick itself, and I think you did that.
Yeah, perfect. And I went off on tangent stories about myself, so that's always a win.
And do not get me wrong. I mean, this round or this game, it was really down to the wire on a few of the choices, and it's like tomorrow the score could be much different, just based on what's hitting me that day. And it's like, but like there's no questioning how huge Chernobyl was of a news story, but there's different kinds of impact. And I don't know, the pop culture impact, and the fact that he hit me in the Conan button, which is a really it's a really, really soft spot for me. So
no explanation needed. I'll just have to whip your ass next time, Mancrush. But I do want to know what would have been our tiebreakers.
All right, so you want my tiebreaker
in what category? Oh yeah.
It could be anything.
It could be anything. So so mine was going to be the movie The Crush, which is it's a movie with Alicia Silverstone once again, which I wanted to cement her in, because in 1993 she kicked it off, but she never stopped. During 93, 94 she was huge, but she came out with the movie The Crush, which is her big screen debut, where she plays a 14-year-old psychopath who she was actually 16 at the time when she did the movie, but who tries to ruin her neighbor's life after he refuses to have sex with her. But the interesting part of this whole thing with the movie is that Alan Shapiro, who's the writer and director of this, it was based on a true story that he went through. And then he got sued after the movie came out because he named Alicia Silverstone Darian in the original movie, who happens to be the girl that the story was about. Yeah. So in subsequent releases, like the DVD and on television, they actually changed her name to Adrian, But if you look at the movie, there's notes that she writes to, I think his name was Nick in the movie. It was Carrie Elways. She writes a note to him, and her initials are still the same. It's still Darian, whatever.
Why would you use the real name?
I don't know. Ballsy.
That's
Ballsy.
asking for a loss.
Yeah.
What was yours? What were you gonna bring for your extra?
I think it might have depended on gamesmanship of if I went first or last. It's in music, and I'm not sure if I would have picked an album. No, I think I would have had to go with a single because there was 2 singles that came out. But Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band released "Like a Rock,"
Yeah, great track.
which and the album, which just became iconic more than just a cool single. And I'm a big Bob Seger fan, so that jumped out at me. But I think, and here's the problem: but there was a bigger single that impacted with "Kiss" by Prince and the Revolution. So "Kiss" came out that month as a single. That reached number 19 of the year in singles, but Robert Palmer "Addicted to Love" came out, and that was number 10 single of the year. So I probably would have brought out Robert Palmer's "Addicted to Love" single release, and plus it was another iconic MTV hit.
That
Man.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you would have won with that or Kiss. But they're both fantastic.
Well, you don't know what my pick would have been for the wild card round, Mr. Joe Findlay.
Okay, do you have one?
I do. My pick for the wild card round, I actually had. It's a little bit of a pandering to the judge, but we'll go to April 7th, 77. That was the day the Toronto Blue Jays were born, and they began play. But the very first game of the Toronto Blue Jays on a snowy, cold afternoon up in Toronto.
Oh, that is pandering. That's tough.
That is pandering. I think you might have actually won me over. Oh, damn it. I would say that Kiss probably would have beat it. Addicted to Love, as much as I love it and as big as it was, I feel like pandering could have squeaked it out. But there's no beating Prince. You could have just said, hey, Prince, took a selfie and left it on his subway floor. And I'm like, yes, he wins. I can't wait.
Anyway, you absolutely killed it, Andre. Thank you. You did a great job, man.
Oh,
This
was fun. Good.
Dude,
that either
great.
gets me invited back or losing my email.
No, dude, you can come back whenever, bro. Like I said, for everybody out there, we are bringing this to video. Hopefully, I don't know how this one came out. Joe was producing this one while we were doing it. Maybe we will release this one if it came out good, video wise. As far as these episodes go, I think you put in a lot of stuff and you put your personal stuff into it, which we don't get a lot of because we're not connected. We're not in Hollywood. We weren't on the same lots as Tom Hanks and Woody Harrelson and shit like that. So really great takes. And I just wanted to ask you, I saw a little off topic, but you're going to be at Mahoning next month.
I am. I'm going to be at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater on April 16th and 17th. Yeah, 16th and 17th. They are doing an awesome 2-night event, double bill each night of a movie called The Monster Squad, and then following up The Monster Squad with this new documentary called Wolfman's Got Nards. So it's which I also have a little bit of attachment to.
Yeah, you have something to do with it.
Yeah, but that's going to be awesome. We were trying to do it last year, last fall, and it didn't work out, and it was sort of like height, pinnacle of COVID time, and it would have been in October, and it would have been awesome. But instead of ending their season, we're sort of opening their season this time, and those guys have been having some awesome events over the last couple of years, but especially this last year when drive-ins were the only kind of thing that people can enjoy safely. And it's just really cool to get a chance to go. I'm flying in for the 2 nights. There's going to be like distance photos, and there's going to be a ton of stuff to sign, so you can bring your own stuff, get it signed, or they'll have stuff there for you for you to sign. You can sign something if you want to, but it's mostly going to be me signing. But it's just going to be really cool because I am a huge drive-in theater fan, and where I grew up, we used to have a lot of them, right? And as you can imagine, like Southern California, built for the automobile. And even in the Valley, you know, we had the Van Nuys Drive-In, we had the Winnetka Drive-In, and I love the drive-in theater. I think it's such a big piece of Americana. I think it's one of those like literally top 5 things when I think of Americana. It's the drive-in movie theater, and there's not many around. But this last year, a lot of them got resurrected, so it's a cool resurrection story. But I used to go to the drive-in with my dad, and that was, you know, and friends. But it was really cool to go, and you remember those movies that you see at the drive-in. And I remember I saw Octopussy at the drive-in. It was like one of the first movies I saw at the drive-in. And
Mancrush got some pussy at the drive-in.
That's right. And it was totally opposite. I went for the wrong reason. And Bob Seger did a video at a drive-in. So look at how this is playing in, right? But I just remember seeing Maude Adams and actually realizing what Bond women meant, and how just stunning and amazing they all are, even to this day. She was my favorite up until Eva Green.
Yeah,
so good, man.
And
Mahoney's great though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. It's going to be a blast. So if you know anybody, throw them in the trunk and drive them over to Mahoning. And
no, don't do that. Don't do that. Do it the right way at Mahoning. It's a single screen. It's the biggest screen in Pennsylvania. It's a fantastic place. I go there every year. It's like 2 hours. I'll see if Mike Ranger wants to go. The only thing is, hopefully it's not sold out, because they've been selling out every week.
They do. I know they actually, I think they're dropping kind of like the next, just even mention of it tomorrow. I made a little video for, which is a Friday, and whenever this airs, but they haven't even really started marketing, and they did their original push, and they had a couple hundred tickets sold just off their, on their opening on that day of the announcement. So hopefully it gets maxed out. I think they're capping it at, I don't know what they're going to cap it at, but yeah, either show up day of or get, please come, because it's going to be fun. It's going to be rad.
Yeah, don't come day of if you might not you'll get turned away.
But, I do know one thing that they said they're doing is usually when they have guests, they usually come about 2 hours ahead of time to start the signing line, because sometimes the movies, whatever the first one is, will start playing while people are waiting for that. But they want me to come an hour earlier than that to start. I guess they're anticipating a huge crowd, so I'll be signing for 3 hours before the first movie starts. So so we're trying to rip them out and get them there. We'll have mini posters and some production stills, and like I said, if you've got your own poster or God forbid, a teen magazine or something like that, go ahead and bring it, and we'll get it signed for a nominal charge for it.
Oh shit! So it looks like there is still tickets. I am gonna buy mine right now, because seriously, once that ad goes up, they will be gone. Anything else coming up? I know last time you were on, we talked about you started planning the other documentary about the lady that was stealing kids and all that stuff. Are you still doing that, or what?
That's on the list. I'm just starting to kind of, everybody's kind of coming out of their groundhog hole, to see if they see their own shadow or not. And that's definitely something still on the list, but that's such a niche project. Documentaries are huge right now. Like, a lot of people like them. They're hard sells though, up front, because you just have to find the right kind of interest. Currently, I just drove back from LA. I was in town for a week, working on a couple other development things with some new ideas, and a friend of mine's clients. He's a manager and access to kind of network people. So I'm working on some TV concepts, and then just working on. You just don't know. I mean, it's kind of this thing. I love that documentary project. There's another documentary project that I like, which happens to, affected an old neighborhood of mine. It's a big gas leak, a couple of years ago. It was this huge thing. More uplifting, type of things. And, trafficking
positive
kids, and gas leaks at a natural gas plant, and, and then some crazy TV projects. But you just never know what's going to pop up. So you got to have like 5, 6 or 15 things, swirling around, because you never know. You have a meeting or a phone call and someone goes, I like that.
True. Well, it sounds like you got a lot of shit going on, but hopefully see you next month. And dude, come back on here whenever, because contestant, judge, whatever you want to do, I think you got both sides covered. I think we were all super happy with how this went. And because this is the first time we did it, because we're always nervous about like, all right, who's going to come on and be a contestant? It is a tough thing to do.
It
You
is.
got to find this or that.
It is absolutely a tough thing to do because you got like I was even intimidated coming in and while we were going because you guys come in, you find these great articles and you give a lot of the backstory and the stats and you try to write down the highlights and you're like, well, what am I going to fill that with? There's so much more there's so much more kind of background information. But I tried to hold my own.
You did fantastic.
You got it
right
grip.
to the end.
I got
That's weird.
Thanks again, Andre. But unfortunately, we're going to have to end this episode right here. But don't worry, if you've missed an episode, you can always head back to our website. That's duelingdecades.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, on Spotify, really everywhere podcasts are available. And then, like Mancrush said earlier, head on over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Dueling Decades, where you can join our private group and share some of your very own retro memories. So until next time, duelers, we're going to bid you a peace, love, light, and a joy. Have a grateful week, everyone.